Atalanta. Atalanta, Ataranti, class name Archer of Red, aka No Acha, is the Archer class servant of Rotweil Brzezinski of the Red faction in the Great Holy Grail War of Fate/Apocrypha. Shiro Kotomine assumes command over her before she even meets her master, and through his machinations, he later officially becomes Archer's master. She is one of the servants summoned by Ritsuka Fujimaru in the Grand Orders of Fate/Grand Order. A famous huntress known as the Chaste Huntress, Junketsu no Karyudo, that appears in Greek mythology. She is a huntress who is famous for her swift feet in ancient Greek legend. She became famous after being the first one to drive an arrow into the Caledonian boar during its extermination. Also, she is included as a member of the Argonauts, which assembled brave heroes from all over Greece. She has the tragic past of being born as the daughter of a king of a certain country and yet being abandoned in the mountains by her father. Legend. Atalanta was born as the daughter of King Iasus of Arcadia. However, although she was born in and as the princess of the natural paradise, Atalanta ended up being abandoned in the forests and on the mountains immediately she was born as she was shunned by her father, who desired a son. But she survived thanks to the divine protection from Artemis, a virgin goddess who felt pity for her. Artemis sent and made a female bear, a sacred beast of the goddess, nurture the girl by giving her milk and raising her up. In gratitude, Atalanta is a fervent follower of Artemis. Thereafter, after being brought up by the female bear sent by Artemis, and later was discovered and adopted by hunters who treaded into the mountains, Atalanta has developed her skills conspicuously, perhaps due to her latent talent, and also became a huntress. Upon reaching adulthood, Atalanta grows into and becomes an excellent and peerless huntress, and she accomplishes many adventures. There are 3 tales that Atalanta is famous for. The first tale is about how she was chosen, accompanies and participates as a member of the Argonauts led by Jason. Atalanta boasts to be the fastest among humans, and right after becoming one of the few female crew members on the Argo, she happened to meet the hero Meleager. Meleager was charmed by Atalanta, and he invited her to the extermination of the Caledonian magical beast. The second tale is about the extermination of the Caledonian boar where Atalanta is most known for her participation in this hunt, but this resulted in giving rise to a tragedy right after this event. For the sake of exterminating this magical beast that was dispatched by Artemis, who got angry with a king that was being negligent in offering her a sacrifice, Atalanta and the others exhausted their efforts in a desperate attempt to hunt down the boar. However, although Meleager pierced the finishing blow, he handed over the achievement to Atalanta, who was the first one to hit her arrow onto the boar, this being an act of goodwill towards Atalanta, or Meleager having thought that it is something that should be simply followed as a hero. Concerning the males, they held displeasure towards that, where they cannot grow to be simply tolerant and were saying that they possess skills greater than Atalanta, who is a female. A fight suddenly occurred between Meleager and his relatives, and Meleager was inflicted with a deadly curse. The third tale is about the dispute over Atalanta's marriage. After the hunt of the Caledonian boar, Atalanta then returned to her birthland, but her father, who never had a son, commanded her to get married. When suitors began to rush for her hand, the troubled Atalanta decided to turn it into a footrace contest. As she had pledged a vow of virginity to the goddess, she proclaimed, "I will only marry one who can beat me in a footrace. Those who lose will be killed." She tore through a great number of challengers. Although Atalanta would not lose to any man in a footrace, she fell on the cowardly schemes of a man who borrowed the help of a goddess and ended up getting married half-forcibly. She lost when she was tricked into picking up irresistible golden apples thrown in front of her, and she had to break her vow. Afterwards, it has been told that she was turned into a lion as a punishment, but that is unsure. Regarding Meleager, it is uncertain what kind of feelings Atalanta had embraced for him. However, she seemed to have watched the outcome of a man who loved her get dragged into a tragedy. While regarding her father's persuasion to marry, she tried to escape the unreasonable demand thrusted at her, but she could not accomplish that either. In the end, none of these tales had a particularly happy ending for her, and her distrust of men became extremely strong due to the third tale in particular as well. As far as she is concerned, Atalanta is an existence that projected her former self while simultaneously, she exists as a symbol of purity for children. Although she was saved by the hands of the gods, it is nearly beyond redemption for the rest of the children. She, who materialized as a servant, entrusts the salvation of the children to the Holy Grail. All children throughout the world, far and wide. That quest is without any reward, and yet, even if she is aware that it is a difficult challenge that is close to impossible to accomplish, she will chase after that dream for eternity. Appearance. Atalanta is a huntress who wears beautiful green clothing, clad in verdant green with her cold, sharp eyes containing a beastly glint. Her hair is stretched out long and unkempt, and it is completely lacking in the silkiness that would be found amongst those of noble birth. As one who can be called a beautiful beast in human form, it befits her appearance. Atalanta's charm points consists of those things on her head that look like animal ears and that thing on her lower back that looks like a tail. Her animal ears and tail seem to be the symbols and after effects of a curse told of in her legend, or so they should have been, but she actually seems to like them. She did not have the animal ears and tail back when she was sailing on the Argo. Personality. Born in the natural paradise of Arcadia, Atalanta speaks in an old-fashioned manner. She has the same egotism and view on life and death as a wild animal, so it is natural to her to steal food to live. However, she will help any child left behind as much as she can, as gratitude for the care she received herself. The reason she is obsessed over children is due to her own origins. The despair she felt as a baby was just that strong. She would happily throw away her own life to become a stepping stone to realizing a world where all children are saved. Her wish to the Holy Grail is for a world where every child can be raised with love. Because it concerns her previous established wish of saving all children, she will probably cooperate with her master in an assertive manner. Her favorite dishes are apples and meat. It is suggested for one to sometimes try to earn her good mood with an apple pie. Atalanta is fundamentally stubborn because of her wish for the salvation of all children in the world. Due to her nature of being brought up together with animals, she is an extreme realist except when against children. Her outlook on life and death is more severe than a human being's, basically not showing any mercy towards the weak, provided that children are excluded. Obviously, she likes children, including their smiles, and she would dislike those who hurts children the most. While she does not really have any regrets, she finds it a shame that she was not gifted with children due to swearing a vow of chastity, as well as the fact that she wasn't cherished much by others. Atalanta embraces the grand desire of saving all children in the world. Because of that, taking an unsparing attitude towards her master, in the situation where she does not catch sight of her master having a zeal in obtaining the Holy Grail, she will even slay her master. Nonetheless, if one goes along with her entirely and properly while respecting her dream, she will even probably hand over a golden apple. Well, speaking of faults, regarding unfaithfulness in comparison with other Greek heroes, she deals with that fault in a strict manner. Concerning the golden apple, the forbidden fruit of the gods that promises immortality, it was once used on Atalanta during her race in her third tale she was famous for, and she had stopped as a result, losing control over herself. If this is used, any human being would stop in their tracks, reach for the fruit, and try to eat it, causing their rationality to fade. It is a conditioned response, similar to how one will retract their hand when touching something hot, a response carved deeply into their bodies. And the same goes for Atalanta, where she forgot about the race and stopped completely. That is precisely why she will hold on to this golden apple and not give it to anyone unless they have a need of something like this, such as mentioning that her master is free to use the golden apple against her during a foot race. She would then ask if they are prepared, as they should know the consequences for defeating her. Atalanta's distrust of men became extremely strong due to her third tale in particular. After all, to Greek warriors at the time, battle was both an offering to the gods and a way of trampling over others. Atalanta liked none of these warriors since they acted more violent than necessary when they hunted. However, there was one man named Peleus who she was fond of, for he was the only one who approached her with a humble attitude. In addition, when she became an Argonaut, she had interactions with this companion, who was the father of Achilles. A modest young man who cannot look at the egoism of the heroes in Greek mythology. It was, among other things, an aspect to think about. All right. Atalanta has no reaction to Achilles' advances, showing nothing of embarrassment, surprise, or even anger. Without reacting at all, such words of courtship have no meaning after having lived in the wild alongside beasts. However, Atalanta does seem to be affected with the view of others, such as how Shakespeare had suggested in writing a love poem for her and Achilles, which she scowled unpleasantly at the idea, as opposed to how Achilles was quick to joyfully agree to the offer. Despite this, Achilles had seemed to at least formed a bond of some level with Atalanta, where the two are usually found together while passing time, or when they exchanged glances as a way to convey each other's thoughts. Aside from romantic subjects, they seemed to agree in other matters, such as how the two tried to convince Shiro Kotomine, who they originally thought was a normal master, to avoid fighting alongside them. Abilities. Atalanta is a famous huntress from Greek mythology that earned her recognition thanks to being the first one to drive in an arrow during the extermination of the Caledonian boar. After being raised by a female bear and later adopted by a hunter who treaded into the mountains, she has developed her skills conspicuously, perhaps due to her latent talent. As such, Atalanta is a peerless huntress, and the greatest of Greek mythology, skilled in the ways of the forest, easily traversing through it by leaping between branches, having knowledge in restraining wild beasts, and displaying the capability to easily become one with the forest, to easily disappear from the sight of someone actively watching her. She is more animal than human, and her senses are far greater than others. She is able to sense enemies far before Achilles with her great sense of smell, and her sight is great enough to pinpoint targets in conditions of near zero visibility at night from an extreme distance. Atalanta is also famed for her swift feet, which would not allow her to lose to any man in a foot race. As such, Frankenstein is not able to fill the gulf between their physical capabilities even with the support of her bridal chest, which allows her to emulate the mana burst skill. Even after Frankenstein kept chasing her after being hit on 2 vital points, Atalanta was still confident that she could defeat Frankenstein. She is also included as a member of the Argonautai, which assembled brave heroes from all over Greece. As one of the world's most famous archers, Atalanta wields Toropolos, bow of heaven, Tenko no Yumi Toroporosu, the boar killer, a celestial bow that can be called a rare gem befitting such an archer. A large bow she received from the gods, it is her general armament, her weapon of choice that received the blessings of the goddess Artemis. It is a jet black, Western-style weapon larger than her own height, granted to her by Artemis and named after one of the goddess titles. Although usually there's nothing its arrows cannot pierce, the power of her regular shots isn't high enough to hurt Siegfried due to his armor of Fafnir. However, by drawing her bow to its limit she's able to perform a physical attack flying faster than the speed of sound that clearly exceeds an A-rank strike. In fact, drawing her bow with every ounce of strength in her body allows her to strike the force of gods. As such, said strike pierced Siegfried's chest and sent him flying, head over heels, crashing into several trees. Furthermore, the attack came from so far away that the other servants didn't detect it. An extreme range attack with a rank destructive power that leaves no traces of magecraft, the eyesight required to take aim with near zero visibility, and the supreme precision to thread such a needle of an attack. There existed bowmen who could accomplish every single of these feats, but almost none could have possibly accomplished all of them simultaneously. By reducing the strength of her attacks, she can prioritize its speed by quickly knocking, drawing and releasing her arrows. Although her arrows still travel faster than sound in this state, they are shot down by Chiron, who also possesses immense skill with the bow even surpassing that of Atalanta. Skills. Class skills. Magic resistance, D rank nullifies spells that were done in one step, a single action. A magical resistance of the same degree as an amulet that rejects magical energy. Independent action, a rank 1 is able to act even with the absence of their master. However, in a situation where one decides to use noble phantasms and the like that requires an enormous amount of magical energy to consume, backup from their master is necessary. Personal skills. Crossing Arcadia, B rank she can move while jumping over every obstacle on the field, including enemies. Arcadia, my faraway homeland, I shall jump stone by stone across the steep mountain range that leads to you. Aesthetics of the last spurt, a rank once an enemy takes the initiative, and after confirming their actions, she can act to anticipate them. Even in foot races, she always made her opponent run ahead. Go ahead. I shall pass in front of you afterward like a squall. Noble phantasms. By offering a prayer to Artemis and her brother, the sun god Apollo, Atalanta can perform a powerful anti-army noble phantasm, Phoebus catastrophe, complaint message on the arrow, with her bow. A rain of arrows will fall like a downpour on the next turn, carrying out an attack on all enemies. It is also possible to set the range. Atalanta also owns Agrius Metamorphosis, a cursed noble phantasm where one owns the power of the monstrous beast when she wears the pelt. Even though Phoebus Catastrophe is sealed, she can still use a similar attack named Toroplos, Bow of Heaven. Other than luck, all other parameters are increased. It also grants power equivalent to that of a rank Mad Enhancement and along with an A rank Shapeshift skill, bestowing various characteristics depending on the environment. With this noble phantasm, Atalanta is able to fight on par with Jeanne d'Arc and even push her to use Luminosite Eternelle to defend herself from Atalanta's Tauropolos, Bow of Heaven. She's ultimately defeated by Achilles, even though his heel had been struck by Chiron, and therefore had already lost his immortality and his speed had been reduced by approximately 70%. It would normally be impossible for Atalanta to use Agrius Metamorphosis in a regular Holy Grail war, so practically speaking, her only noble phantasm is Phoebus Catastrophe. Even if she could actually use it since it is an unmanageable Mad Enhancement type noble phantasm, a master would have to make Atalanta fight using Phoebus Catastrophe as the focal point in order to actually make proper use of her.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.